It's Thursday, July 29. Coming up on a very special edition of The View. We're making American history. President Barack Obama is the first sitting president to ever visit a daytime talk show. Barbara Walters is making a special appearance for this historic event. And from his family to the country to the world, no subject is off limits. All that and more on The Red, White, and View.
This is a very special edition of The View. The wait is over. For the first time in American history, a sitting president is visiting a daytime talk show. Us. Yeah. President Barack Obama is here at The View. But before we do that, before we start to talk to the president, I just want to say we're all pretty knocked out about this next bit of business that we have. We are thrilled to introduce somebody making a very special appearance today. Please welcome back the amazing Barbara Walters.
Thank you all.
Wow. How you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling very good. When we come back, we're on hiatus in August with a whole bunch of wonderful repeated shows. And then we come back in September, and then I will show you my scar.
Nice.
And I'll tell you more than you wanted to know, but I'm in very good shape. What a wonderful day to come back.
It's great that you brought the president with you, too. It's so nice of you.
I don't know.
Just hanging around. Why don't you come see us?
Yeah, but I watch you every day, as you sometimes know. I call the control room and say,
do you scream at the TV when you see us say stuff?
Yes.
You know what? Right now, I'm happy to be the first daytime talk show host to ever say these words. When we come back, President Barack Obama will be here.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear
that I will execute the office of President to the United States faithfully.
that I will execute
Faithfully the office of President of the United States.
of President of the United States faithfully.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
This is a historic day for The View. We are honored to welcome the 44th President of the United States, Barack Obama. Well, we hope so. But you know, you've gone through a little bit of a beating the last month. Do you really think that being on the show with a bunch of women, 5 women, who never shut up, is going to be calming?
That is the... look, I was trying to find a show that Michelle actually watched. And so I thought that this is it right here. You know? This is one of our favorite shows. All those new shows, she's like, let me get the clicker.
Have you ever watched us?
Of course.
No kidding.
Of course. Well, this is the second time I've been on now.
That's right. That doesn't mean you have to watch it.
Third time president.
Yeah, the book first. I wasn't here, but I heard.
Yeah.
You did the book first, and then when you were running, and now, sir, here you are as president of the United States.
You were pretty fidgety last time you came to the
very
Yes. Very fidgety.
I was explaining that these couches are made for these little people. And so, if you're a little taller, you kind of have to settle in a little bit more.
Just settle.
You look settled.
But you know, we said that this has been a kind of difficult time for you between oil and questions of racism and Afghanistan and a few other little things. We understand that you sit at night with your daughters and your wife and you do the rose and the thorn, right? You still do it?
We still do it,
Okay.
although Malia's now at camp and Sasha's away at a friend's house, so it's just me and Michelle.
We'll do it for you.
Go ahead.
In the last month, what has been the rose and what has been the thorn?
Well, in the last month, the rose has to be a couple of days we took in Maine with Michelle and Sasha and Malia. And we went on bike rides and hikes. And, the girls are getting old enough now where they're not quite teenagers yet, so they still like you. But they're full of opinions and ideas and observations, and it's just a great age. Malia just turned 12 and Sasha just turned 9. Wow. And it couldn't have been a better couple of days.
Thorn.
Well, where do I begin here? No, look, obviously, the country's gone through a tough stretch since I took office. When I was sworn in, I know you showed the inauguration. We were losing at that time 750,000 jobs per month. The economy was shrinking at a pace of about 6.5%, which is unheard of since the Great Depression. And so the last 20 months has been a nonstop effort to restart the economy, to stabilize the financial system, to make sure that we're creating jobs again instead of losing them. And in the midst of all that, we've also had the oil spill. We've also had 2 wars. We've also had a pandemic, H1N1, that we had to manage, and a whole host of other issues. What has been gratifying is the fact that the economy now is starting to stabilize and grow again. And what's been satisfying is just seeing how resilient the American people are. As much as you said it's been tough for me, the truth is it's not tough for me. I mean, I've got people, pundits on the news who may say things about me, but of course, but you think what the American people have gone through, losing jobs, seeing their home values go down, their 401ks declining. I mean, those are the folks who I draw inspiration from because I get letters every night from them, and I read them, and as tough as it's been, they remain hopeful, they remain optimistic about America, and so I don't spend a lot of time worrying about me. I spend a lot of time worrying about them.
The one thorn, the biggest thorn this past month.
Well, the reason it's hard to answer is the things that the media may focus on are not necessarily the things I focus on. I have to sign letters to parents of children who've been killed in Afghanistan, or the husbands or wives of people who've been killed in battle. And that gives you a sense of perspective that is just different from what is going on cable TV on any given day.
But can I follow up on something?
Yeah.
Because, you've really done a lot, I think. I mean, you signed 200-plus laws since you're in office. Right. You have financial reform has taken place. You got a health care. I mean, you've put 2 women on the Supreme Court. I could go on and on about your accomplishments. And yet the right wing, through Fox News and other outlets, they seem to be hijacking the narrative. Where, on your side, is the narrative? Where is your attack dog to come out and tell the American people, listen, this is what we did?
Joy, that's your job.
Well, I do it. I
do it. No, let me say this. When times are tough, as they have been, naturally there's going to be a political argument that's going on out there. And, I volunteered for this job. And politics is not beanbag. I mean, politics is a contact sport, and you expect people going at you. And the one thing that does frustrate me sometimes is the sense that we shouldn't be campaigning all the time. You know, there's a time to campaign, and then there's a time to govern. And what we've tried to do over the last 20 months is to govern. So on health care or on financial reform, right now we've got a big debate about how we can get small businesses more credit, because they really generate more jobs than anybody else. And when you feel as if every single initiative that we're doing is subject to Washington politics instead of, is this good for the country, that can be frustrating. But having said that, look, there are legitimate differences to be had between the parties. I'm not perfect. My administration's not perfect. And a lot of this criticism I try to listen to, and if I think it's fair, then we try to correct it. Now, some of it, I'll grant you, Joy, I tend not to think is fair. And
that's right.
Michelle doesn't think any of it's fair.
No. I want to ask you about the country, too, because, you know, seeing you here, and it truly is an honor to have you here as the President of the United States. It does seem as though we are a very divided states of America right now on so many issues. And I think even those who did not vote for you felt a hope that there would be a uniting factor when you took office. Are you frustrated that this country still feels so divided and you have not been able yet to bring that unity?
Look, I think that right after the election, there was a sense of hopefulness and unity. I think at the time, people didn't understand how bad the economic crisis was going to be. And as a consequence, I think that, you know, the politics of the economic recovery, the steps we had to take to make sure that the banking system didn't collapse, what we had to do for the auto industry so that didn't collapse, a lot of those became controversial. And unfortunately, we live at a time when a lot of times people are thinking about the next election instead of the next generation. My hope is that I've tried to set a tone in the debate that says, look, we can disagree without being disagreeable.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that the media culture right now loves conflict. And if there's a story about cooperation between the two parties, that story doesn't make the news. What makes the news is somebody who says something as outlandish or outrageous as possible. That's what gets focused on. And I think, frankly, the American people would rather hear a civil debate, but that's not what they're getting a lot of times.
Mr. President, we have Shirley Sherrod, who was a USDA official, who was fired over this racially charged clip that was taken out of context. It was posted on a blog. When you took office, I think a lot of people thought that we were going to get beyond race, but it seems like every single day it's something racially charged. Do you think that we are still in America, America is racist?
Look, I think that we have made so much progress, and I had a conversation with Shirley Sherrod, wonderful woman. She's the first one to acknowledge how much progress we've made. I mean, think about her history and what she went through, her father being murdered, and her growing up in the Jim Crow South, and now she's on the phone talking to the President of the United States, and she had been on the South Lawn for a celebration of federal employees just a couple of weeks earlier. And that's a testament to the progress that we've made. What I do think happened in that situation is that a 24/7 media cycle that's always looking for controversy and oftentimes doesn't get to the facts first generated a phony controversy. A lot of people overreacted, including people in my administration. And part of the lesson that I want everybody to draw is, let's not assume the worst of other people, but let's assume the best. Let's make sure that we get the facts straight before we act. And when it comes to race, let's acknowledge that, of course, there's still tensions out there. There's still inequalities out there. There's still discrimination out there. But we've made progress, and if each of us take it upon ourselves to treat people with fairness and be able to stand in somebody else's shoes and see through their eyes and relate to where they're coming from, that we can make more progress. And when you look at the next generation, interesting, when I talk to Malia and Sasha's friends, they have healthier attitudes around these issues than Michelle and than our generation does. And we have healthier attitudes than previous generations do.
Well,
And that's the progress that we want to keep on making.
Because you remember, I'm sure you're old enough to remember this movie, but in 1967, guess who's coming to dinner? Sydney...
I was only 6.
I figured.
But
the rest of it remember it very well.
I do remember the movie.
Now, do you remember this?
Sidney Poitier he's smooth.
Please, he's the greatest ever. But he says to his father, you think of yourself as a Negro man, and I think of myself as a man, and that's the difference. Is that still relevant today? I ask you, what are we? Who are we?
Well, we are Americans. We share common hopes, we share common dreams, we share common aspirations. We're going through common struggles. I mean, the fact of the matter is that everybody here, and I look at this audience and it's representative of the country, everybody here is connected in some fashion. And our success and our children's success is tied up together. And so I think most Americans feel that way. But what is still true is that, you know, there's still kind of a reptilian side of our brain, right? That part of our brain that if somebody looks different or sounds different, that there's a part of us that is cautious. And what we have to do is fight against that. And that's part of what Shirley Sherrod was trying to say in the speech. If you actually read the whole speech, she was acknowledging, I have my own biases based on my experiences, but if I am able to look inward and reflect, then I can get beyond my biases. And that's an exercise that all of us have to undergo day in, day out, and it's a constant struggle. And, you know, it's something that there's nobody in America who doesn't have to, at some point, think about their own racial attitudes.
Can I ask
but
you
if we
about
do,
that?
then I think there's no reason we can't overcome it.
To follow up on Whoopi's question, you do not describe yourself as a black president, but that's the way you're described. Your mother was white. Why would it be helpful, or why don't you say, I'm not a black president, I'm biracial?
Well, you know, when I was young and going through the identity crises that any teenager goes through, I wrote a whole book about this.
Yes.
You were
on with us
and the book came out. You know, part of what I realized was that if the world saw me as African American, then that wasn't something that I needed to run away from. That's something that I could go ahead and embrace. And the interesting thing about the African American experience in this country is that we are sort of a mongrel people. I mean, we're all kind of mixed up.
Yeah.
And now, that's actually true for white America as well, but we just know more about it. And so I'm less interested in how we label ourselves. I'm more interested in how we treat each other. And if we're treating each other right, then I can be African American, I can be multiracial, I can be, you name it. What matters is, am I showing people respect? Am I caring for for other people? That's, I think, the message we want to send.
Well, if you're not sick of us yet, stick around and we'll come back. We'll be right back with President Barack Obama.
Thanks.
Because of what we did on this day, in this election, at this defining moment, change has come to America. Americans who sent a message to the world that we have never been just a collection of individuals or a collection of red states and blue states. We are and always will be the United States of America.
We are glad to be back with President Barack Obama. Now, let's take care of some business.
Elizabeth, can I just point out, I don't have as much gray hair in that.
I noticed. I didn't. I wasn't going to bring it up.
The presidency ages everyone. I know.
Well,
everyone.
the stress of the job, I think, would maybe do that as well. I want to get to something something that's really important to so many Americans. You had promised that the stimulus bill would cap unemployment at 8%. We're at near 10% across the country, 12% in my home state of Rhode Island. We are in a state of chronic joblessness. Yet, and we heard in the beginning of the show as well, you claim that there's saved jobs, a standard that has not been used before by any administration. It's frustrating to hear that saved jobs boasting, because it doesn't feel that way to Americans when they don't have jobs and they're losing jobs. How can you continue and your administration continue to say that you are saving jobs when, in fact, people are losing jobs?
Well, actually, Elizabeth, what's happened is that we've gained private sector jobs for the last 5 months. So we were losing jobs when I was sworn in. As I said, 750,000 jobs per month. We've now gained jobs for 5 consecutive months in the private sector. You're absolutely right that it's not enough. And if you don't have a job right now, the only answer that you want to hear is, I'm hired. Right. So the frustration that people have is entirely justified. Now, I have to tell you, though, this isn't just my standard, Elizabeth, or my administration standard. There was a report that came out by a couple of economists just today, including John McCain's former economist, that said that had we not taken the steps that we took, you would have actually seen millions of more jobs lost, and we would be in a Great Depression. So I know that's not satisfying and it's not good enough.
I think the word saved is what's troubling people.
Well, it makes a difference, though, if your job was one of the ones that saved. So, I mean, let me give you... I'll just give you a very specific example. The states got hammered as a consequence of this financial crisis.
They did.
And if we had not provided immediate assistance to the states, they would have had to lay off teachers, police officers, firefighters. This was not just a matter of the jobs for those people. It's also the services that would have been lost, kids who would not have had teachers in the classroom. So here's the challenge. We went through the worst crisis since the Great Depression. And we are now bouncing back, but we're not bouncing back as quick as we need to. There are specific steps that we can take that will make a difference. So, for example, we've got a bill right now for small businesses. I just met with some small business folks over at Edison, New Jersey, right before I came here. They want to grow. They want to expand. Some of them are having trouble getting credit. Some of them want to buy new equipment but are wondering, can they get tax breaks that would help save them money. And this bill would address that. It has gotten tangled up in politics, and my hope is that we get it through. But my expectation is that we are going to keep on pushing and pushing, and the economy is going to slowly get better. And people were traumatized. So consumers now, they kind of pulled back a little bit. Businesses who actually are profitable again and have a lot of cash are hesitating in terms of investment. And slowly, as people get more confident that this recovery is stable and here to stay, then I think we're going to do better. And I just want to give you one example of an industry where we are immediately seeing progress, and that's the auto industry, because I think it tells a good story about what we've gone through. You remember when we decided to go and restructure the auto industry, there were a lot of complaints out there. Why are we bailing out the car company? Now, we'd been bailing them out for years before that, just asking nothing in return. We finally said, you restructure. As a consequence, GM and Chrysler did not go through liquidation. You now have all those U.S. auto companies showing a profit. They've rehired 55,000 workers. We are going to get all of the money back that we invested in those car companies. And the best thing is we're now creating an entirely new clean energy, clean car technology around advanced batteries and whatnot that will make us a world leader. Now, that progress is significant, but we've still got a long way to go before we're all the way back. And, you know, the one thing I want to just tell everybody here in this audience, don't bet against American workers. Don't bet against American ingenuity. We still have the best workers in the world, the best technology in the world, the best universities in the world. And if we get our mojo back over the next several months, then I am absolutely confident that we are going to be doing terrific but we're going to have to make some fundamental structural changes as we go along.
We have more time later on, but I've got to get to Afghanistan because it's so much in the news right now. This week, Congress voted to spend another, what, $59 billion for the war, but 100 Democrats, much larger number than last year, refused to vote for your plan. And now we hear about a leak of secret documents. Pakistan maybe is friendlier to the rebels than you are. Supposedly we're there because of al-Qaeda. There are only 50 or so members of al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. Why don't we get out?
Well, look, war is always tough. And I want to point out that when I came in and during the campaign, I was very explicit. We need to bring an end to the war in Iraq, and we need to refocus our strategy in Afghanistan because it's not working. All the leaks that came out in this WikiLeaks thing that occurred this week just confirmed what I was saying during the campaign, which was from 2004 onward, Afghanistan was under-resourced. We took our eye off the ball. We were distracted with Iraq. Now, here's the good news. We are ending our combat operations in Iraq this month because of the incredible heroism of our troops and because of the Iraqi people. We are now in a position to end our combat operations. In Afghanistan, we've still got a lot of work to do. And the problem that we've got is that although al-Qaeda right now is primarily in Pakistan, in those border regions between Afghanistan and Pakistan, it's not hard for them to move in and out across those borders. These are uncontrolled borders. And the folks who perpetrated 9/11 and their allies are still congregated there. That is still the epicenter of terrorism targeting the United States. And what we need is to have a stable Afghanistan and a Pakistan that is not a sanctuary for terrorism. Now, what I've said is we're going to get an opportunity. We're going to give an opportunity to the Afghan government to build up its security forces after 30 years of war. We're going to help them with some development. We're going to allow them to stabilize. In the July of 2011, next year, we're going to start thinning out our troops. But it is important for us to understand that we've got real security interests there, because if you've just got chaos, what some people call chaosistan in this region, where there's no functioning government and warlords and terrorist affiliates are able to operate, that is going to be that much tougher for us to make sure that they are not attacking us. So I'm not interested in open-ended commitment. The sacrifices that our military have been making have been extraordinary. And I said when I announced our new strategy that at a certain point we've got to focus on building do some nation building here in the United States and not overseas. That's got to be a priority, but we've got to finish the job that we started, and it's not yet done.
July 2011, draw down.
Mr. President,
we're going to start drawing down.
We thank you for that, and we will also be back with more. President Barack Obama when we return.
Okay, you thought those questions were hard. Now, these are really going to be hard. And I'm going to do a little lightning rod, so you just give me your first impressions, okay?
Let's go.
Do you know that Lindsay Lohan is in jail?
I actually know that, yes.
You knew that?
I did.
Okay. Does Mel Gibson need anger management?
Let me answer the Afghanistan question. No, look, I haven't seen a Mel Gibson movie in a while, so.
Yeah, the tapes are really better than any movie he ever made.
Yeah.
Oh, please. Should Snooki run as mayor of Wazilla?
I gotta admit, I don't know who Snooki is.
You don't?
Mr. President.
Okay, only one more, because these are obviously, you don't know any pop culture, which is good news. We don't want you.
I knew Lindsay was in jail.
You knew that. Yeah, how did you know that?
I don't know.
Well, wait a minute,
Mr.
President.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, do you tweet?
I don't tweet.
You don't tweet?
I don't tweet on a regular
Facebook?
basis. No, I think there is a official president's tweet, but
Yes.
some 20-year-old is doing a lot of the tweeting. I'm just fessing up here.
They took your email away when you came in, but do you do it on the side?
You know, I have a BlackBerry, but only 10 people have it, and I've got to admit, it's no fun because they think that it's probably going to be subject to the Presidential Records Act, so nobody wants to send me the real juicy stuff. It's all very official, and, you know, Mr. President, you have a meeting coming up, and we'd like to brief you.
And that's it.
Yeah, that's all.
Have you thought about an iPhone at all, making the switch?
I haven't made the switch yet.
Are you?
I do have a. I got a pod though.
Now, can I ask you
I've got a great iPod.
What's the first couple of songs on your iPod?
You name it. You name a song, I've got it. Whether it's
Did not blow your mind this time.
I've got Jay-Z on there. I've got Frank Sinatra on there. I've got
Justin Bieber.
I've got Maria Callas on there. I do not have Justin Bieber on there. I have met Justin Bieber. He came to sing at the White House. He's a very nice young man.
Mr. President, are you going to Chelsea Clinton's wedding?
I am not going, and I have to say it would be tough enough having one president at a wedding. You don't want two presidents at a wedding.
The pressure.
The Secret Service and everybody's getting magged as they're going in, and all the gifts are getting unwrapped and ripped up. And
were you invited to Chelsea Clinton's wedding?
You know, I was not invited because I think that Hillary and Bill properly want to keep this as a thing for Chelsea and her soon-to-be husband. And I am going to have the exact... I'm letting you guys know now, you all probably will not be invited to Malia's wedding or Sasha's wedding. Because one of the things that Michelle and I are so adamant about is making sure that Malia and Sasha have as normal a life as possible. And I know Bill and Hillary, who are terrific parents, had that same attitude when it came to Chelsea.
Have boys entered the picture yet for your girls?
Thankfully, no.
Mr. President, if you want to send the girls with great babysitters, we're the most normal women you ever want to meet.
Not babysitting, grandma, not babysitting.
But we are so...
Yeah, really.
Actually, they're now old enough where they are going to be doing the babysitting.
Good, they can come over.
They can come over and help out.
You say come over and help out. President Barack Obama when we come back. No, let's bring them up.
We are back with President Barack Obama. President Obama, you've been in office 18 months. Clearly, you have not begun to walk on water, though people expected you to right after the election. You were told you were too slow on responding to BP. You were too fast on Ms. Sherrod. You haven't explained yourself. No one understands. Sir, can you win as president?
Are you on Zoloft, is what we got to know.
Look, when I look back over these last 20 months, they have been as challenging but as satisfying as any in my life. And I'm going to be able to say at the end of just the first half of my first term that every American in this country is soon going to be able to get health insurance even if they've got a pre-existing condition. I'm going to be able to say that tobacco companies can't market their products to kids. I'm going to be able to say that we've got a credit card law in place that makes sure that you don't have any hidden fees and that you know exactly what's going on when it comes to credit card companies. We've got the toughest financial regulatory reform law since the Great Depression, and we're going to be able to enforce these laws so there are no more taxpayer bailouts. We've saved an economy from a Great Depression, and we have created, I think, a whole range of reforms on education that are going to pay off over the next 10 years so that more kids are going to college, more kids are studying math, more kids are studying science. So,
will they have jobs when they're out of there?
Well, they're going to create these jobs. That's the thing is that when our kids are doing well in school, when we've got the best trained workforce, when they are innovating and creating jobs, through small businesses, that's when America succeeds. And so I feel very optimistic, and I do think that the reason I seem calm all the time, even if sometimes we're going through some turbulence, is I try to take the long view. I try to say, if I wake up today and I know I'm doing a good job, somewhere down the road, that's going to pay off. And people are going to be able to look back and say, you know what, he made that decision based on what's best for the country as opposed to short-term politics. And I think that's the best way to govern.
The fact that your rating is so low, does that bother you? Or can you say it's going to be better?
Well, you know, Washington is obsessed with polls. So I can look historically and I can say my polls at this point are higher than they were, than Ronald Reagan's polls were, or higher than Bill Clinton's polls were, or higher than Jimmy Carter's were. But the truth of the matter is that doesn't make too much difference because these things change very quickly. And what I constantly am focused on is, am I doing what's right for the country? Am I making the best possible decisions that I can be making? And if I do that, then I have confidence that you know, I'll be rewarded because I think that good policy is good politics.
What would you like your legacy to be?
I'd like the American people to be able to look back and say, this was a time when we tackled a bunch of problems that we'd been putting off for too long. Healthcare, we'd been putting off too long and finally got solved. Education, we're finally making the schools better for our kids. We need an energy policy so that we're not dependent on foreign oil.
Right.
And we're dealing with the challenges to our environment. As I said before, I'm so optimistic about America because I'm optimistic about the American people. Every time I travel, every time I get out of Washington and I sit down and I talk to folks, they are generous, they are strong, they are resilient, they are full of imagination, they are full of drive, they are full of pluck, and there's no reason why America will continue, it shouldn't continue to be the greatest country on earth for decades and centuries to come. But we just have to remind ourselves of what makes us great. And hopefully I'll be able to help lead the country through this difficult time so that we continue on this extraordinary journey that we've been on.
Mr. President, all five of us, we're delighted that you were here and honored to have you. Thank you.
I had a wonderful time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
I just want to say, Barbara, on behalf of all of us, it was great having you here. We know you're coming back for the big deal, really, in September to come and play again. Well, we love you. And, you know, for us, it was fantastic. It was a great day. Everybody, take a moment, take a little time to enjoy the view.
Rookie Blue is brand new tonight at 9, 8 Central on ABC.